In April of 2011, Mojang joked about adding microtransactions to the game via a Minecraft store, while in 2021 they bragged about making over 1 billion sales from the actual Minecraft marketplace. How did the game change so drastically in those 10 years, and more importantly, how did a skin pack go from costing 79 cents to over $6? The game that used to have just one price now has 32,000 of them, and I calculated the mind-boggling price you'd have to pay if you wanted to actually own everything the game has for sale. Also, more broadly, how did Minecraft go from an indie game with a fixed low price to being one where marketplace, and you can spend hundreds of dollars, and people regularly do? This isn't an unjustified hate piece. I do think DLC has its place, but instead a retrospective of the good, the bad, and the ugly of content created for players, by players, and eventually even by the Minecraft studio themselves. This is all of the eras of the history of DLC, and I hope you enjoy one of the deepest dives we've done yet, because it starts with Minecraft DLC for free. In the very earliest days of Minecraft, the whole point of building was so that you could share your work with others. This might be in screenshots or videos, or it might be by sharing those very world files. In fact, the nature of Minecraft leads to a lot of sharing, not just of maps, but also the skin system leads to sharing of skins, so you can pretend you're Mario or Sonic or any other licensed character, and the whole beauty of the game was that anyone could pick any of these things, or they could start from scratch and build one themselves. The creativity didn't just stop at building in your own survivor world, but instead extended to what you might choose to build for others. Many people built maps as the explosion of Minecraft during alpha and beta happened, and many of these maps are lost to the world today, including some that you or I might have built, but there are some which became so successful that even now they are instantly recognizable. I remember one of the very first maps I ever heard of, that I heard of time and time again, and anyone from this era of Minecraft can relate, is this Temple of Notch map. You throw a single gold ingot in a well, and then by taking advantage of an insane amount of redstone, something very fun happens, and let me show you what that is. You might be thinking you don't recognize it until right now, where, oh, it's so weird. How do they, he's blinking at you as he's giving you stuff. It is one of the weirdest Minecraft maps that's just so simply appealing, because it shows how you can manicure the terrain in your Minecraft world to make it look like the literal man who built it. I think if I was Notch, I would be very weirded out by this, personally, but I absolutely love this as a creation, and in fact, this was made by FV Disco, who later made many great things, but there is also the example, you know, this was a very goofy map that many people remember, and this just shows that Minecraft maps can be anything, but they can also be opportunities for other people to experience challenges. Everyone knows what it's like to survive in a Minecraft world that looks like this. It's very old terrain, but imagine if you could mix that up by having no terrain at all. One of the earliest adventure maps to catch everyone's attention was this Skyblock. It is such a simple premise. You have one tree, you have one chest with lava and ice, and you must work out what you're going to do from scratch on this. There have been so many countless revisions of this, but the idea was just put out by someone who was figuring, what if you tried to survive in a Minecraft world with the bare minimum possible? And as you can see, there is nothing around here compared to modern Minecraft, but this is an idea that compels so many people. What if you could survive longer and do more interesting things despite having less? Interestingly enough, if you wanted to, you could build your own Temple of Notch out here in the middle of nowhere, and I think the idea of having absolutely nothing, a fall to the void and your death, is something that really added to people's Minecraft experiences. However, falling to your death isn't the only interesting thing, although it is very fun, but instead you could fall not to your death, and that could be interesting too, if there were things to avoid. And so for the third classic Minecraft map I'd like to show you today, how about the Dropper? Oh, that was fake, it was blue stained glass. That's very clever. For the third, oh wait, I'm gonna fall on it again. No, okay, that is actually real this time. For the third fun classic map, the Dropper is one of those concepts that just immediately appeals to people. This is of course a modern day remake. All of these are of course being played on the Bedrock edition, and so have some amount of changes being made, but the fun idea of trying to fall, not to so you can specifically avoid death, but what if instead the goal was to move around in the y-axis so that you avoided hitting blocks on the way down? That would be incredibly fun, wouldn't it? This is something which has existed for as long as Minecraft has had full damage reduced by water, because people love the idea of changing up Minecraft entirely. Usually you move along the X and Z axis, but this moves you around the Y axis, asking you to do challenging things like dodging clouds or planes. And why is half of the gimmick here trying to avoid blue stained glass? But the simple idea of moving Minecraft to a different plane is so fun and shows how even in this remake of the timeless classic, indeed, people are making remakes of all of these, even in this remake, you can see that people are loving the idea so much that it works quite well. Minecraft's mechanics are so enjoyable that people will play them year after year, and there are Minecraft maps being made of each of these free ideas, even now to this day, which I think is absolutely beautiful. However, these Minecraft maps are just a small subsection of the many which existed, most of which were terrible, but many of which spawned entire genres and inspired people to play Minecraft in entirely different ways, and such is the beauty of the map making community, something which was kind of taking a hit when it came to the console edition. This is an interesting tale because Notch, the man himself, not the Weird Temple, specifically didn't want to bring Minecraft to consoles. This is because he was quite insistent on developing Minecraft himself rather than hiring a porting studio, and when you look at the Minecraft community on the Java edition, it specifically thrived from making their own content in the form of servers, yes, but also specifically in making their own maps and skins. The consoles specifically would not be able to do this because console manufacturers have very strict rules on how you can use their hardware and the internet together. You can't download any games from the wide open internet. No, you must use their store or use their discs, but more importantly, you cannot modify that game in any way, and this includes in setting up your own servers or even playing on others, and specifically this means you cannot download other people's save files for all sorts of reasons, but basically console manufacturers don't like to deal with all of the things which PC gamers take for granted. This presented very big difficulties when Minecraft was officially confirmed to be coming to the Xbox 360, ported by renowned porters 4J Studios. They were going to make Minecraft work on one of these, but with all of those restrictions in place, how was Minecraft going to work in the slightest? I mean, even just the issue of skins. Is everyone going to have to play as Steve? Well, they had an interesting solution to that. And being honest, they specifically needed one because they build Minecraft on the Xbox 360 not just as a way to play Minecraft but on a home console, but also specifically as a way to play Minecraft split screen with your friends on a couch. This fun trailer shows them doing this at the Mojang Studios, but it is of course something which they did want people to do, and it wouldn't work at all when there was just one Minecraft skin. Later they were going to add Alex, but even 2 Minecraft skins wouldn't fit the whole 4 players that you could do in a normal split screen game. And so what was the 4J Studios solution to not being able to upload custom skins, but also not being able to have every player have the same skin? Well, I think it was quite creative because I present to you Tennis Steve, also known as 2-Player Steve, because if you joined a game that someone was already playing, you could be Steve as well, but to differentiate you from him, you had this lovely white outfit. Also, there was Tuxedo Steve for 3rd player, Athlete Steve for 4th player, and then so on and so forth for Scottish Steve, Prisoner Steve, Cyclist Steve, and Boxer Steve. Interestingly, this last one was the rarest originally. However, after a while, people started to develop a preference for joining a game at a certain point in time. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a Tuxedo Steve after all? And so 4J Studios introduced something which is surprisingly a first in Minecraft to this day, which was the ability to pick your skin in the game itself. No going to Minecraft.net or making an account somewhere else. Instead, you could pick any of these 8 Steves directly in the game itself, which meant that now 2 people could pick the same skin again. This was perhaps a problem to some, and it was a problem that 4J Studios were ready to sell the solution for, because Skin Pack 1 launched on July 16th of 2012, costing 160 Microsoft points. It was, to be fair, a very controversial DLC at the time, with people saying having to pay for skins is the stupidest thing in the world, that being a very common verdict, and also a lot of people saying they're going to stick with the default Tuxedo skins, player free is the best player, etc. There were many people who were offended at the idea of having to pay for skins in a game where previously this was free. However, to add value to this, 4J Studios decided to speak to game studios and efficiently license their characters so you could actually play as for instance, the Gears of War person, or you could play as the Master Chief or Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie, DLC, and unlike all of the free Java equivalents, these skins were officially licensed and so could exist on a console market, and so that's exactly what happened. And in fact, not only did people buy these, but they bought them in their millions, making it so successful that 4J Studios immediately shifted gear from not just making skin packs, but also working on a brand new mashup pack. So as game developers, 4J happened to have a decent connection with BioWare, and so they pitched to them the idea of making a Mass Effect not just skin pack or texture pack, as they later started doing, but instead making an entire world specifically for the texture pack that they were making and the skin pack they were going with, so that you could play in Minecraft but feel like you were in the Mass Effect world. And this was the start of something quite revolutionary in the DLC world, because instead of just releasing it and saying you have to pay to take it out, they instead had one of the most friendly trial systems around by saying anyone could download the map and look around it and see what they'd made, but instead if you wanted to save it, that is when you'd have to pay them. It also launched at an incredibly low price point of £2.69 or $3.99, and you would be able to use each of these elements individually from each other, which in my opinion is a massive deal and is one of the reasons why the mashup pack really caught on, was because you got to experience this world, as you can see in this trailer, it's looking pretty good, but you also got to experience the skins and the texture pack, although if we were being totally honest, experience the texture pack is about the most positive thing anyone has ever said about the Mass Effect mashup pack. It is very much a texture pack designed to be used on this world and this world only. The idea is solid, but the execution not so much. However, this is something that 4J Studios massively improved upon when it came to the natural texture pack, the plastic texture pack, and the fantasy texture pack, among many others, which they did start to release, again, kind of breaking the wall on this form of DLC. It might have made sense for skin packs, given the scarcity of skins and the inability to upload. It might have made sense for the mashup packs, because obviously there was no way to share worlds so easily, but texture packs felt like a little bit they were just going to do what people had done for free forever and just charge for it because they were 4J Studios. Something they could do, however, to kind of balance this fear, was every one of these texture packs could have updates the moment a Minecraft update came out, which was something they committed to at the time and are still doing to this day. You can play one of these texture packs that you bought in 2012 and it's still getting updates now, which is something that is very consumer friendly. Indeed, I think the mashup packs are the most consumer friendly of these entire bundles, because they are not just a world you can look at and is pretty and comes with skins and texture packs, but actually are full-on worlds you can explore and do quests in. And although that sounds hyperbolic and like it comes from an audience that maybe aren't used to seeing maps, the truth is 4J Studios did hire a lot of art graduates specifically to work on these, and it made maps that weren't just beautiful, but were very functional. And rather than just trying to, explain it to you, why don't I show you precisely what I mean with this mashup pack? Because the Mass Effect mashup pack, or N7 mashup if you're playing on Bedrock, might have been the first of all of them, and honestly kind of the trial for the whole concept, but it shows just how fun this idea can be to experience a fully immersive version of another world in Minecraft. It does have some severe pitfalls in terms of how much of the world it covers, and they did more than fix it for this next mashup pack, because the Skyrim mashup pack, or Dragonborn if you're playing on the Bedrock edition, there is a really dumb reason we'll get into as to why these packs have different names if you're playing Bedrock. You want it to be a good explanation, but sadly it just makes you more disappointed. But the reason that this came about was because, funnily enough, 4J Studios had a decent connection with Bethesda and Todd Howard, and Todd Howard, the studio lead of Bethesda at the time of Skyrim, the massive phenomenon, had worked on a giant game that obviously he had children that weren't of the legal age to play it, and so the idea of having this in Minecraft was a pretty good idea for them, and so this was a license they gave to allow the Minecraft team to make one of these inside of it. And indeed, this isn't just making one small part of the Skyrim world, although it's a nice little part. Riverrun is everyone's first town, but also it made a lot of the other key quest components. This is one of the first major dungeons you go into. Look at that, they built it right here, including the lock on the door. And then even better, do you know Whiterun, the big town where someone took an arrow to the knee once? You can take an arrow to the knee in Minecraft in this exact same replica. I love this. I think it's crazy to see, because again, looking around this map, you don't just realize the cool things they've done, but also what you can do in Minecraft if you set your mind to it. Admittedly, I always felt like it's weird to have a forced texture pack for these worlds, because they kind of take away some of the creativity creativity. If you make your textures from scratch, you can build anything in Minecraft, sure, but looking around this, it's a reminder that you can build basically any video game in Minecraft, and honestly, it's not just, you know, like implicitly allowed, it's actively encouraged, because 4J Studios, the people who would sell you the game, would do this themselves and let you look around at the masterpiece. I have bought the Skyrim mashup pack, but even if I hadn't, I can still look around this world, this whole cross-section of Skyrim, and appreciate what they have to offer. By the way, this is, limited to a console edition sized world that is 864 by 864, but they really do cover as much of this as they can, and although this pack has a few rough edges, after this pack onwards, they made sure they covered every single edge of it, not just with rough terrain like you can see here, but actually with real legit builds, which I think is a really wild thing. But yeah, if you've never seen the console edition world border, then here you go. There's no Skyrim out there, sadly. What you will find, at least a little bit interesting though, is Minecraft Halo Edition, the Halo mashup pack, or if you're playing Bedrock, the Master Chief mashup pack, I believe it's called. Again, really silly change names for all of these, but something that is interesting about this map is they did release this world way back. It's the third mashup pack. It's over 10 years old now, but despite that, as the console edition and indeed Bedrock got updates, they have not just updated the textures, like I mentioned they've done before, so you'll find that there is concrete powder and concrete, despite the fact that these came out years after this, but also there were other Halo games that released between the launch of this mashup pack and the, the current day, but they've updated the world to include little bits from each of those. They made the world extra cool, and they didn't even publicize it. They just kind of do it in the background, and that to me is what I think is a key component in why these mashup packs are so fondly remembered. It wasn't just a basic commercial relationship of they're gonna sell you some world and say, haha, we got your money, but instead they treated it as a delicate thing that they would update for a decent amount of foreseeable time, giving you actual updates and giving you things that weren't possible when it first released. Something I absolutely love. This map is really, really fun in my opinion, because it does include not just an overworld, which is updated, but also they go through the Nether, and they make that specifically interesting as well. Something I loved and was a first for a mashup pack. And so yeah, if you wanted to do the disc hunt, which is to find every single music disc, this world actually had that in a very interesting way. Also, look at this. It's a Nether fortress, but they blur it into this Halo mess, and they also make it more interesting in many parts. I love this as a concept, just making Minecraft a more interesting world to explore, combining elements of something else you really enjoy is a really great way to pay homage to all of these, studios that they're really borrowing the concept art from. And yeah, absolutely love this in so many ways. Look at this. This looks exactly like magma. I assumed it was. I jumped in, I made a mistake, but it's so cool. You know what else is cool though? The Festive Mashup Pack, also known on Bedrock as it's the Festive Mashup Pack. Oh, they didn't change the name for once. That's incredible. But the Festive Mashup Pack was released, as you can imagine, specifically for the festive season. I feel like if any of them are going to be renamed, something about the festive season, like that's, something about holidays is like controversial in United States politics, which is what Mojang seems to draw their current biases from. So I'm surprised that this is allowed, but apparently this is the first one that hasn't had its name changed. And as you can see, it's a cutesy little village that actually isn't just a normal village, but instead functions as Santa's workshop. So over here is where they build this is where they distribute them or something like that. And over here on the other side of the Christmas tree is where they actually manufacture all of those presents. Every single child in the world gets their presents from this place. I can't believe I'm used to the battle map more than this. This is weird. This isn't a factory at all. This is a place where they build some stuff. What is fun about this to me is they use this world again, as you might know, to make the battle map so you could play against each other in a Hunger Games style. But what I really love about this regardless, oh, here we go. This is what is to the left bit in the battle map. This is the workshop. And so yeah, you kind of get this look around a festive world where they have conveyor belt lines making all the presents. I think it's a really cute idea personally, but also you can look around the map and try specifically to find yourself all of the music discs. And again, it just adds a cutesy little thing to it. When you find any music disc, the game tells you that you found them, and it gives you a little reward when you get all of them. Something that is extra fun for any world to have. Looking around, this is already great. Looking around and seeing how this texture pack works, extra fun, but also getting inspiration for Christmas theme or festive theme builds at this time of year is something a lot of people appreciated, but then to have actual games and fun you could have on top of that, before even considering that you could fight each other later in battle, is something that gave this a fun spot in my heart, despite it probably being one of the worst mashups, if I was being totally honest. Like, what else are you going to use this for? Also, don't ask why I'm a cat girl maid. None of my DLC works, so I have to use the free stuff, and this is a free skin that you have on Minecraft Console Edition. By the way, I should point out that I'm focusing focusing on the worlds here, but every one of these mashup packs does have skins, including, by the way, look at this, there's versions of those versions of Steve specifically for Christmas. So Athlete Steve has a Christmas sweater, and Tuxedo Steve has this thing on, and you know, it's a cutesy little addition. Also, some of these skins weren't skins in any traditional Minecraft Java sense. Because they were building both the engine and the skins, they could do ridiculous things like a stocking, where, as you can, like, that's how the stocking moves. How does that make any sense? Don't ask me, but you could get ridiculous skins that got crazier and crazier as things go on, which is something we might have to return to later. But you could also just be Green Santa if you wanted, with a hat that would go outside the normal skin geometry, something which wasn't allowed on any other version until fairly recently. I've become the Ginger Cat, by the way. This is the best I can do for now. So this next mashup pack required going and turning on my PlayStation 4, as well as finding Minecraft PlayStation 4 Edition, because I only own it physically here, then loading up the Bedrock version, where there's a secret little switch if you bought the game before a certain time. Then we can go into play game, we can play offline, and I can find the PlayStation exclusive mashup pack, which is this, the Little Big Planet world. This is something interesting. Each of the console edition branches has their own exclusive mashup pack, and in the case of PlayStation, it's Little Big Planet. And the only reason I went through all of that work is to show you something fun on this edition, where, by the way, I'm also not an Ocelot, because they never released the Ocelot skin here. So this is a fun little spawn area that you have, but if you go into this chest, they not only give, oh, why can't I open the chest, actually? Ah, there we go. You get yourself a cake. And you get 8 apples. I don't know what that's meant to be, actually. But let's go on Patience Are a Virtue, maybe Boomtown. In fact, there's a bunch of different levels that they have right here, and this is one of the more fun mashup packs because they try to take the gameplay of the original as literally as they could into Minecraft, and it results in something very strange. And I'm gonna go down this minecart track to show you exactly what I mean by that. So, as you can see, this is fun enough by itself. I think the 4J team got better and better with working with minecarts, and the results are very fun, not only in terms of the transition screens they built. This is effectively a loading screen that they've piled into a minecart. They didn't use teleport blocks, even though they had access to command blocks, because they wanted to make something as close to a player experience as they could. Did my game crash? Oh, no, oh, that was weird, huh? But because they wanted to make something as close to a player experience as they could, this is what they did instead. And so now we go all the way up. We'll eventually hit a Little Big Planet level, which we can now play from the Minecraft perspective. So this is kind of fun to me, like having a platformer be built inside of Minecraft. It's not one of the easiest games to transition, but yeah, I think they did a solid job. This is, oh yeah, look at this. There's a whole jungle worth of level around here, and it's so cool the first time you experience that, yeah, one of my favorite game franchises can be played right here on the console edition without having to do too much extra work. I thought that was so clever personally. And that's before we mention the music from this pack, by the way. I hate to shill too much for this thing, but for real, this was such an interesting mashup pack that it encouraged me to buy Little Big Planet on my otherwise gameless PlayStation 4, and it has to be said that that counts for something, right? Also, as always, music disc hunt, which I think is fun. Anyway, this was the PlayStation 4 exclusive map, and it was the next one to release. There was another exclusive we'll get into later, but for now, there was a All Editions mashup pack which launched, because this cross-platform release was the first time 4J Studios had made unique IP to add to Minecraft. This is the Greek mythology mashup pack, and you can already tell just from looking around the spawn how epic this truly was, because a lot of their students seem to have an interest in, you know, like a mythology of different forms. 4J Studios worked on adding not just a Greek mythology pack, which was fun by itself, but also later an Egyptian mythology pack, which includes everything you'd expect, the Sphinx and the pyramids and everything in between, as well as, of course, a whole batch of Egyptian skins, and even a texture pack which learned from a lot of these mistakes, being fairly useful in survival Minecraft, as well as to build pyramids inside of these maps, something which is very fun. Oh, look at that, by the way. That's a mesa biome. That's a cutesy addition. They also released the Chinese mythology mashup pack, which maybe didn't hit the same numbers as the previous 2 packs, but definitely found its niche and was very appreciated by people who had this very focused part of history as their favorite part and could enjoy it inside of Minecraft. And then following on from the festive mashup pack, there is a Halloween mashup as well. I really find this to be a compelling horror experience, and it's not just me. One of my most viewed live streams ever, with something like 700,000 views, is just me playing through this map trying to find all the discs. It is like a horror house where you genuinely definitely do have to go through a lot of very spooky things, minecart rides and challenges included, and it makes it one of the most interesting maps to the community to this day. It has to be worth mentioning though that unlike all of the other mashups where they built everything from scratch, there already was a Halloween texture pack and there already was a Halloween skin pack. They just kind of added the world on top of it, and so maybe that's why it was so great in the minds of YouTube viewers, it seems. But yeah, this was the extent of their own personal packs. They did also, at the same time as working on these things, try to get the licenses for much bigger packs, which is why we saw one of the most incredible collaborations we've seen Minecraft do to this day. It was when they convinced Nintendo that they could use the Super Mario name to build a full mashup pack, which they released for free when they released Minecraft Wii U Edition. This is the Nintendo exclusive, and my god, I love every part of this world. They pay homage to the 2D Marios, they pay homage to Super Mario 64 and the castle, and even Super Mario Sunshine, one of my personal favorites. I love that they built this world, and that's on top of being able to play as Waluigi or Peach or Luigi or Mario or whoever you want to. This was one of the most incredible pieces of DLC ever, and it would be hard to follow that up. However, it seems as though 4J were reading into my brain, because the next mashup pack they released went absolutely apocalyptically, because this is Minecraft Fallout Edition. Oh my god, look at this. They've got the Pip-Boy menu. I love the Fallout series. Fallout New Vegas is a personal favorite of mine. Genuinely is part of why I love the city of Las Vegas and lived there for as long as I did. I love the Fallout franchise, and to see it come to Minecraft was incredible. Maybe it was inevitable after, you know, obviously the previous connection they had with Todd Howard from Bethesda, but it's still insane to me to see how they paid homage not just to Fallout 4, which was the newest game at the time. It had just come out, so here's the settlement and Fallout 4 and all of that stuff, but also they managed to pay homage to other games in the franchise, and not just Fallout 3 and New Vegas like you might expect, but also to, look at this, here's Diamond City by the way, but also lots of tiny little pieces of the earlier Fallout games too. I love this mashup pack, and honestly, it doesn't even have much of a it doesn't fit the Minecraft theme at all in my opinion. Like, going around an apocalyptic world just doesn't really fit Minecraft, even though you could argue that Minecraft is an apocalypse, but I still found this to be so interesting and so amazingly compelling, and maybe that's just me, but that is a big part of what I see. And so yeah, this is this is just something I love to look at. And how could Minecraft top this? Well, I'd argue they didn't necessarily, but they did release more mashup packs anyway. The Pirates of the Caribbean map certainly was a first, because instead of being based on a video game or just the generic concept of mythology as we'd seen 4 times before, this was based on a movie franchise, or, you know, maybe based on some books you could argue, but it was done with a deal with Disney, which meant that, wow, you could play in the Pirates of the Caribbean world, except it's here in Minecraft. I thought this was pretty cool, even though if it wasn't my jam, being able to experience any world inside of Minecraft always was compelling. Maybe not as compelling as the Nightmare Before Christmas. I remember I used to love this movie as a child. I'd want to watch it over and over again. I can't tell you anything that happens in there besides the big spooky skeleton man, but as you can see, being able to look around this world is something that is just so cool and follows this exact same trend of following movies, something they did break for the next mashup, even if only because Steven Universe is technically a TV show. But yeah, this is one of those shows that has a cult following online. It's one I tried to watch a few episodes of just to understand exactly what was going on, but it's a very, very, very strange show, and maybe I'm not the demographic for it. You tell me in the comments down below, I guess. But the interesting thing about this mashup pack was how they were willing to make mashups of basically anything, it seemed. If there was a community who wanted to see it in Minecraft, they would do so, and sadly, this was towards the end of the console edition era, and so there was just one more mashup pack. Although I think Toy Story is a pretty good one to go out on. I love this because it has that same perspective I'm always saying I enjoy of having you be tiny in a massive environment. And indeed, it's like I'm a toy in Toy Story, you could say. They had lots of different Toy Story movies represented here. So you have Toy Story 1 and the house and all that noise. You have Toy Story 3 with the daycare, but you also have Toy Story 2 and Al's barn, and it's, you know, it's all a giant street where you can walk and fly around it if you really want to. I feel like walking would be very tedious for the size of some of these things. The scale of these builds were incredible, and personally I thought it was a great send-off to the idea. Oh look, it's not just the first 3 Toy Stories, there's more in here as well. I thought, it's the antique store, oh no, watch out for that, for the creepy thing in there. My point with all of this is to say that the mashup packs definitely had a really seriously good progression right here till the end. However, it's worth mentioning by the time that this Toy Story mashup came out, bear in mind that they raised the price to $5.99 after Fallout, there was a potential over $100 just in mashup packs you could spend alone, and that's before considering that when you go to the skin pack menu, you can see that, oh dear god, they added so many in here too, that we're talking about dozens of skin packs, each having their own price, alongside texture packs, resulting in over $200, I think it was about $300 of DLC that Minecraft console editions had by the time they were discontinued. This sounds like an insane amount. This makes it sound like this is where the dark part in the video comes, because wow, I can't believe Minecraft, the game famous for being $20, wanted you to spend $300 if you wanted all of the content. But believe me when I say this was the inspiration for Mojang to say, wait, so the console edition makes sometimes up to $300 in additional sales from people. Why aren't we getting in on that? And so first of all, they started by releasing these very same maps and mashups on the Bedrock edition, which I guess we should mention at least briefly. Why is it that these mashups have different names? So these are the 16 mashup packs released by 4J Studios and then later re-released by Minecraft for the Bedrock edition, and you'll notice how 4 of them have changed names. The N7 mashup pack, the Master Chief mashup pack, the Dragonborn mashup pack, and the Vault-Tec mashup pack. What do these 4 packs have in common that required them to have their names changed is the mystery that I couldn't work out, but I spoke to someone at 4J Studios, and apparently the answer is fairly simple. It is that when these were released, they released using titles that have a higher age rating than Minecraft. And again, kind of just trying to be politically sensitive, they're like, what if people argue that we're letting them play 16 games but inside of Minecraft? And so just to avoid that controversy before it hit, they deliberately changed the names as kind of like a legal avoidance mechanism. This isn't a Fallout mashup pack, it's a Vault-Tec mashup, and they just, I guess, hope that the sorts of parents who get mad at that stuff wouldn't know that the Master Chief is the Halo thing, or that Dragonborn is Skyrim. And indeed, N7 is the least recognizable of all of these. Is this a good thing? Is this a smart thing? Does this make any sense, or is it legally required? Probably no to all of those questions. However, it is something that has happened anyway. But yeah, this is something you can find as part of the Minecraft Marketplace, which was first announced in this trailer as a Minecraft Pocket Edition exclusive.
The players have made with it. So, with the Discovery Update for Pocket and Windows 10 editions, we've created a super safe and simple way for players to browse, buy, and play amazing community creations from within the game itself.
This was a reasonably controversial change at the time, with people saying this has officially marked the beginning of the end for Minecraft, or saying it will completely destroy the community of the game, because although you could do all of these things for free on a computer, it was clearly Microsoft's attempt to have a bunch of content which you would buy in the game itself, rather than supporting people via the usual means. This was a controversial opinion shared by many, and honestly represented an ongoing part of Microsoft's strategy to monetize the game more broadly. Before the acquisition, Minecraft had a Realm subscription service on the Java edition of the game, which was basically the only ongoing revenue that Mojang collected from Minecraft players, but after it, this was expanded to include the Windows 10 edition as well as the Pocket edition, and then this marketplace was the ongoing expansion of that. But not only did they expand into selling basically DLC microtransactions, an ongoing amount of it forever, but also they expanded where they would be selling this. It was originally just for Windows 10 and Pocket edition, but with the announcement of the Better Together update, they expanded this to be every single Minecraft platform besides PC, Mac, and Linux. And even PC, if you're playing Windows 10 or above, you can actually play the Bedrock version there. Basically, everyone besides Mac and Linux players, who are confusingly excluded from Bedrock, were now going to be able to buy all of this microtransaction stuff, all of the DLC, all of the Realm subscriptions, which are becoming increasingly important in a world of broken Minecraft saves, and all of these ongoing revenue sources are always being expanded. Sometimes this is in subtle ways, so take for example this very trailer of the marketplace. You can see that it was just a tiny little corner saying store right below achievements and next to settings. However, compare that to modern day Minecraft and you'll notice that the button has not only become a full menu option, replacing the achievements option altogether, but also it is now every single week changing to be as engaging as possible. They want you to click the marketplace much more than they want you to look at your settings or play the game, because one of these free options makes them more money, and this is just kind of the beginning of the modern era of Minecraft monetization. Because, you know, you used to be able to spend about $300 on one edition of the game. How much can you spend on all of the editions of the game right now? Well, that brings us nicely into the modern era, and how many maps have been released during it. It might just shock you. Between 2017 and now, Mojang's relationship with DLC and microtransactions has changed drastically. This is of course due to the marketplace, but it means that the scope, the scale, and the spectrum of quality that a piece of downloadable content has to meet has drastically widened in scale, and this does mean that we have some of the best things available, but it also means that there are so many pieces of DLC that you physically can't count them from inside the game itself. Even Mojang doesn't release the figures, which is why there are third-party websites which will allow us to track exactly how many pieces of DLC there are, which is what we'll be referencing today. But before we show the absolutely astronomical amount that you can spend on Minecraft, I think it's important to reference how Minecraft kind of uses the marketplace as a clever way to monetize their game. This is a way that creators, keep that in mind, people who make Minecraft maps, can make money from Minecraft. This is something I will admit that I am biased on because I am one of these creators. I have my maps for sale via the marketplace, and I make a cut that I'm not allowed to officially disclose, by the way, because it's confidential and covered by NDA, but there is a certain amount of each sale which goes to the person who made the map or the texture pack or the skin pack. This allows it to be a form of DLC which actually supports the community. In the days of DLC past, that money would go straight to the developer, and nowadays when you buy loot boxes or skins in any other game, it is also a way to support the ongoing running of the game, but in the case of Minecraft, that money goes to the people who crafted the content, allowing people to make a living doing what they love in Minecraft. That is obviously the tagline, and that's why Minecraft puts out so many press releases about selling $1 million worth of stuff or selling 1 billion pieces of DLC, and that's because they can say this is their way of supporting the community. However, it's worth noting, not only does Microsoft take a fairly decent chunk of each of these sales, not just via the platforms, which they own a large percentage of, but even the net sale after the platform holder takes their fee has another chunk taken by Microsoft. Again, that amount is not allowed to be officially revealed, which is an interesting thing to say the least, that they won't be transparent about it, but I think it is fair to say that Microsoft are very happy when lots of sales are made in their store. They're not doing this as a purely, like a philanthropical, endeavor, but that is the way that it works for creator-led stuff, and that is how the categories of skins, as well as texture packs and worlds, and then the combined together mashup packs work. However, these are just 4 categories of DLC, because there is also the realms, which is really a subscription, so we won't count it, which 100% goes to Mojang, and then the final 2 categories have been sneakily introduced since then, because although the marketplace might only have 4 categories of content officially, when you go to the other parts of Minecraft, they've added more things you can do with those Minecoins, and these have an interesting side effect of not supporting creators whatsoever. So, for example, when you go to customize your character, you can buy, say, you can have facial hair, which is free, but you could also have arms or legs or a hat, and these will cost you money. That money could be as low as 120 Minecoins or $1, or it could be as high as 400 Minecoins or closer to $3 or $4. This means that you can spend genuinely, this is my most expensive Minecraft skin, you can spend $10 or more buying skin creator pieces, which will not go in any part to actually, the people who made them, but instead goes straight to Microsoft, or in the case of these weird Ben 10 items, will go in part to those license holders as well. But the other thing that Minecraft has, specifically on the Bedrock version, are these emotes. There are emotes that you can get for free, there are emotes that you can get as parts of DLC, so look at this is the Sonic finger wagging, but then there are also emotes that you can pay for, and again, these are 100% going to Microsoft, and it's worth mentioning that these are not trackable via any outside of game means. So keep in mind that when we do the the full breakdown of how much DLC there is, it's this is going to exclude the large amounts that you could spend buying emotes, which is obviously what Minecraft would love you to do, and which they spend a lot of effort on trying to find. Look at this, for example. You've got juggling in here for $4, £3.29. It is wild what you could spend getting a full batch of emotes, and then maybe even more, something which of course Mojang would love to do. And then finally, it also has been mentioned that this is harder to quantify because we don't know, but because Minecraft uses Minecoins as a currency, by the way, this is this is the single best trick that any business will ever convince you to do. Part with your real world money, which can be spent on anything, and give it to them, and then use it for Minecoins, which can only be spent on one place. And because they specifically give you not enough Minecoins to buy things that you want, there will always be orphan balances left over. In some cases, these are 20 Minecoins and negligible, but in the cases of people who buy thousands and never spend them all and stop playing Minecraft, Microsoft can pocket the 100% difference, and this is one of the major ways that airline rewards or credit card rewards or even Starbucks makes their money, relying on people buying gift gift cards and then not spending them, but in the case of Minecraft, you physically cannot do anything in the game without doing precisely that. And so keep that in mind as we talk about just the parts of the game where Microsoft is giving a cut to creators, because there are all sorts of other ways they are making money on an ongoing basis, which can't be included here, and it would be unfair not to mention them. So anyway, yeah, from the skin, when you look into the game and you try to look through skin packs, it's near impossible to work out how many there actually are. I mean, we can dive into skin packs overall, and we can say there's 21,950 plus, but what does the plus mean? Is that 21,957, or is that 35,000? There could be, like, genuinely, it's very hard to be sure exactly how many pieces of content there are. So what we have is this website from Misty. It's called mcmarketstats.misty.fr, and it's got a breakdown of how many pieces of content have released. So bear in mind, across the entire 4J years, which have been about the same now as the marketplace years, they released about 10 mashup packs for a total of about 50 pieces of DLC, which to some is excessive. That is, we're talking about 10 pieces of DLC a year. However, it's worth mentioning that Minecraft doesn't release 10 pieces of DLC a year or 100 pieces of DLC a year, but actually close to 1,000 pieces of DLC every single month. In fact, they partner with the largest number of pieces of content, just the number of pieces of content released, which is, by the way, it is the company Giggleblock Studios, have released 1,064 things themselves. One of the many partnered content creators have released 1,000 pieces of DLC that you could buy, meaning even if they're priced at the bare minimum of just a single dollar each, that is $1,000 you can spend on just their stuff. So keep that in mind as we move to these next figures, because here it is, the total number of Minecraft world templates that have released is 9,381. The total number of skin packs that have released is 21,646, which to me means that this is actually undercounting, so keep in mind that every figure we release, add a little bit if you want it to be perfectly accurate. There have been 255 resource packs or texture packs, and finally just 73 mashup packs. I'm actually really surprised by just how few of them there are, so that is something that's worth keeping in mind. But yeah, as you can see, there are a large number of pieces of content, but if we actually look through them and we sort by price, that is going to be the easiest way to work out how much we'd spend if we were buying all of them. So I will be tracking this in Minecoins and then converting later to real world dollars, and also keep in mind that when I last did this calculation, just after the release of the Wii U edition, the total was in the low hundreds of dollars. So keep that in mind as I say that even at just the lowest price of DLC, 160 Minecoins, there are 3,892 pieces of content, which means that you can spend 622,720 Minecoins buying each and every one of them. But the 160 Minecoin tier is much less popular than the 310, where there are 13,909 pieces of content available for a total of 4.3 million total Minecoins that you can spend on them, which is really, really wild by itself. You can spend a very similar amount, even though there's fewer pieces of content, because the next tier up is 490. With just 7,960, you can spend 3.9 million Minecoins. Then at 2,867 pieces of content at 660, you can spend 1.892 million and 220. And then at 1,562 pieces at 830, you can spend 1,296,460, and then so on and so forth for 584,000, and then 167,000, and then finally 247,900. There is technically a piece of content that costs $1 million, but that is no doubt a bug, and there is a few other pieces of content that fit outside of this criteria, but this covers 99.9% of content available on the marketplace as of the end of September 2023. If you're watching this later, keep in mind that the number of Minecoins has gone up, but right now, as we throw that into a gross calculator together, there is 13,022,900 coins that are required if you want to buy every piece of content on the marketplace. What does it cost to buy content? Well, I'm going to try and use US dollars for this example, because even if you don't use the US dollar yourself, you probably know your currency's conversion rate into it, which you might not necessarily know for the pound. And so if you want to buy Minecoins, the cheapest deal is $1.99 for 320, but the best value deal, the one that Microsoft would most like you to buy, is $49.99, and apparently 2/10,000ths of a cent, which I'm sure is a floating point error that happens somewhere in the marketplace. We'll trust that this is a one-time error, and we'll say that it costs you $50 to buy 8,800 Minecoins. So you have to buy them in the $50 bundles. There is no easier way to get more of these, and so 8,800 Minecoins. How many bundles do you have to buy? to get the full 13 million that you're going to need. The way we work this out, of course, is dividing that 13,022,900 minecoins by 8,800, which is the amount you get in the biggest pack, which means we need 1,479.875 bundles. We'll round that up to a nice 1,480, which means you need to spend 1,480 times 50, or in other words, $74,000. Thank God you got that bonus 10%, because you'd be spending closer to $80,000 without it. But if you spend 74k, you will officially be able to say that you have bought everything on the marketplace, and that is therefore the price for all of the DLC in Minecraft. It has gone up not just tenfold since the last time we mentioned, it's actually more than 100-fold increase in price since the Minecraft Console Edition days, which itself was already considered outrageous that you could spend hundreds on Minecraft. A game that cost $15 for everything when it first released now costs $74,000. Also, you got to keep in mind the extra $20 to buy Minecraft and a $9.99 RAL subscription. You are paying the better part of 75,000 United States dollars. And so I'm going to be heading to my local bank. I really hope they don't ask why I need this personal loan. I'm just going to have to keep restating that I really need it, and I'll totally pay them back. And, you know, more seriously, this is the deposit for a house that you could spend on Minecraft, and that's why most people will not be spending this. Not just because of the price, but also because the marketplace basically is a bunch of choices. You will not be able to play 3,000 maps, and you certainly can't use 26,000 skin packs, which then contain within them over 100,000 skins, because you realistically need just one skin, and you realistically can only play so many maps in a given day or month or year. Even if you were stranded on an island for the rest of your life, you couldn't play through the full catalog of Minecraft maps as it exists right now to their fullest extent. In the same way that no one purchases every game on the Xbox 360 library, Microsoft and Mojang have seen this as a shift, not from being, them as a content provider, them making updates for their game, but instead turning Minecraft into a platform. That is the actual modern era of the game. It's not trying to convince people to spend $75,000, although I'm sure some people, multiple people, have $10,000+ bills. I think that Minecraft are instead trying to make Minecraft a platform, because this is the way that you become a profitable company now. If you haven't seen, basically every high-end tech company is trying to get in on this business, getting in between buyers and sellers. This is the genius that has allowed Amazon to be one of the largest companies on the planet. They simply exist as a middleman and an easy platform for buyers, while allowing sellers an easy way to logistically ship all of their stuff. And the same is exactly true for Apple. You might think they are one of the most valuable companies in the world because of the fact that they sell iPhones every year, but how many of those do they realistically sell? Is that worth their multiple trillion-dollar valuation? No, the way that you make a lot of money is they have an app store where people make things for other people, and Apple takes a 30% cut on every one of these transactions. The same is true for Microsoft with its Xbox system, and the same is true for PlayStation and Sony. You make a big cut anytime someone buys something on your device, and when you make it impossible for developers not to give you that cut in the case of Apple or console manufacturers, and functionally impossible in the case of other people, you make a lot of money with no risk whatsoever to your bottom line. This is how you make money. You don't have to create new ideas, you can just take a cut on the ones that are already out there. This is why there are so many agents in Hollywood, this is why there are so many YouTube networks that will send you emails, and ultimately, if you think about it on an even broader level, this is why governments are some of the most rich enterprises in the world. It's because no matter what happens in the economy, no matter if things go slow or fast this year, they are getting their cut no matter what, and that is effectively what Microsoft has done. They have made a store place where people can buy other people's maps in a very sanctioned way with a large player base of buyers, and so now they are selling billions of copies of all of these various things, and every single time, even if they were taking the small margins which they claim, just 5 or 10% here or there, 10% of a billion sales is still a damn lot. And bear in mind, the average cut from other platforms like the Xbox or like Apple is much closer to 30%, and if you wanted to, you could go even higher than 30%, and consider that Minecraft have worked out their strategy pretty darn well. Instead of relying on their Minecraft updates to succeed to make their money, now they can do so just when other people make things inside of the game, which seems like, therefore, the DLC has been a massive success, with just one small caveat. A lot of people see the modern day system of Minecraft releasing just one update a year as severely lacking, and this is true from a certain perspective. They used to release many more major updates in a given year, and it used to stimulate the sales of Minecraft so much, and it was a great thing to do as a company. However, now they spend a lot of their resources. There are hundreds of people who work on Mojang, and only a small few dozen make up the core gameplay team, because lots of people are out there working on deals with Mattel or Nerf, Dungeons and Dragons, Sonic, every single franchise on the planet to bring these platforms inside of Minecraft or Minecraft to these platforms. In other words, they are now doing a much better job on a business front, and that is something that seems like it is the correct move. However, if you've ever studied business, you know there are 4 separate phases to any major business. There are businesses with high market share and low market share, and businesses with high growth rates and low growth rates. And Minecraft is starting to treat Minecraft as a cash cow, this giant source of revenue that will be profitable for nearly forever, because, you know, it's just going to naturally grow so much anyway, and so they don't need to put as much effort into expansion as they did in the past. But this is something I think is a failure. I think that although DLC is a massive success for creators, I think DLC is a massive success for Minecraft, I think this shouldn't be an opportunity for them to slow down on the main game, and the reason I think that's true is because they are coming under major market pressure. There are multiple entrants from multiple other companies that are looking to be in the Minecraft space. Hytale is the most famous, but there are other ones out there, and although Minecraft can say they want to be a 50-year or a 100-year game as much as they like, ultimately it is important that they continue to engage people across that time. Minecraft could stay the same way it is and people would be interested for a very long time, but using updates and using new content and using refinements on the game to keep people excited and hyped is something that is important. Not everything needs to be a piece of new DLC, and although growing the marketplace is incredibly important for Mojang, I think it also should be very important to them to grow the game as a whole. It is important that every new update bring in new players as they have in the past, and that maybe they do an even better job at that, because ultimately right now, from the outside perspective, it looks like Mojang is doing a great job as a business of cashing that cow or milking that cash cow, but there is always the possibility that at some point they get outcompeted unless they stay on the cutting edge. We've seen this with companies in the past, and I would hate for it to happen with Minecraft, but that is just my conclusion from seeing the history of DLC play out. I'd love to know if yours is on the same level, or if you think that actually Minecraft should be a game that is touched less, and DLC is a way to remain experimental and do brand new things inside of the game, and effectively, you know, park their tanks on the Roblox lawns, and to have all of these other games which have user-generated content to be, you know, very closely followed by Minecraft. I do think that you're working out how to deal with one of the biggest intellectual properties of all time is a very big struggle, and that struggle is why many things that Minecraft have said in the past are so directly in contradiction with what they are doing now. This is not in itself a bad thing. If there is one message I can leave with this video, it's that even though Mojang has gone through a huge turmoil and honestly has gone from a point where they are the thing they used to mock, it is also important to know that if you showed some of the early people at Mojang where the company would be today, they would be amazed in lots of positive ways as well. There are lots of massive improvements, but I think some people get jaded by those, and I also think it's important to note that if there is one thing you take away from this video, it is not that if you do something that former you wouldn't have liked, then you are a bad person. Consistency as a person is as important as it can be. Having integrity is very valuable, but also you shouldn't assume that growth is bad. Just because you change your opinion or your mind on something, this is not a bad thing and actively should be encouraged. If you have new information, if you are presented with a new set of circumstances and you don't change your mind, that is just called being stubborn, and that is not something we should applaud. And I do think that it's something I do struggle with my own life sometimes, like, oh, I have changed my mind on this thing, and rather than seeing it as a point of growth, it's almost a point of shame, but it is allowed to have difference in opinions, which is why maybe if at the start of this video you weren't considering subscribing, maybe you'd like to do so now. It is something that helps to support the channel and these super big deep dives. It takes a long time to research and edit these ones together, but if you like these super long videos, maybe you'd appreciate diving into the history of mini games, or indeed the history of any of the other things we've done on this channel. I'll leave some links to those videos down below, but for now, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to Harrison for doing the video editing for it, and yeah, I hope that he had as much of a fun blast through the past editing it as I had recording, because for now, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye.